Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the underworld. The Star Wars underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun, and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Whoa! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
What's up, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. We are your source for the latest breaking Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion each and every week. And this week on the show, we're going to be discussing the latest episode of The Bad Batch, Tribe. Also, the studios behind Star Wars Visions Volume 2 have finally been revealed, and there's a new poster and featurette for season of The Mandalorian, season 3 of The Mandalorian.
3.
Suspense.
What season is it?
All this and much more on this episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. My name is Chris. Joining me is my good friend, Mr. Dominic Jones.
Yeah, Chris is the Ron Burgundy of Star Wars. Just put it on the teleprompter, whatever it is, read it out. No thoughts, just
I didn't
read.
even read it first that time. Usually I do, but that time I just whatever's there, I'm just gonna read it.
Well, hello, Chris. Hello, Ben. Hello, Hannah. Hello, everybody. And happy Groundhog Day. And what better way to celebrate Groundhog Day than with the return of a lovable furry creature who comes around to tell us whether things are good or things are bad. And of course, talking about Genji the Wookiee. So excited to actually talk about this episode. This one that I think has been my most anticipated episode of The Bad Batch since we saw that season 2 trailer all the way back at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim. And it was so exciting that when Ben and I tried to record a breakdown of it on the show floor, we completely forgot that the Emperor was in the trailer because we were so gobsmacked by the fact that Genji was in it. So this is the episode we've been waiting for, and it's going to be a great show.
Heck yes. Also joining us, it's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
You know, speaking of Groundhog Day, does anybody have any deja vu? Feels like we've done this before at least a few times. Is it just me? It's just me. Just me.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, I know. If I have it again in a few minutes, I'll we'll see about that. Anyway, I'm just gonna move on. And say that this episode.
Make sure you say something different. You should give the episode a different score this time because until you give it the right score, it's just gonna replay the day for you. That's how it works.
Yeah, naturally. I'm gonna have to think on that. Anyway, we're going to discuss a really great episode of Bad Batch, I must say, tonight, and I cannot wait to get into it. And also some news, some stuff happened, guys. It doesn't always happen like this, but there's actually this stuff happened other than Bad Batch we have to talk about.
That's right. And finally joining us, it's Hannah from the Raeside.
G'day there. Great to be back. And I'm cracker episode. I'm glad I'm coming back for this one. Really, really enjoyed this episode. Very, very Clone Warsy. I felt very nostalgic like this whole episode. So yeah, stoked to get stuck into it. And yeah, some juicy news coming out as well. So are we talking about all the big news? We got all the big news.
I
We're
think
talking about it at the end?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll get there.
We'll get there at the end. Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll get to it.
Don't get ahead of ourselves.
This whole episode is like it's like a big piece of mall packaging. That's what this episode is. It's so nostalgic. Takes you back to the old days.
Is nostalgic. This episode is nostalgic to me.
Genji episodes is nostalgic. Yeah. But Hannah, you mentioned it. You weren't here last week. Do you want to give us real quick your thoughts on last week's episode and maybe your score out of 10?
Yeah, absolutely. Not that high of an opinion. Odd, surprisingly, me being quite a staunch, like, hurrah, the Bad Batch is here kind of person. little disappointed. I think it had great action, and the whole giant Zepho mountain machine thing, very cool concept, like great elements. But for me, I did find the lack of kind of through line just to be a little bit too obvious for me. I love a good just kind of random runoff episode, but I think back to back with the week before that episode it was a little odd for me. So I still enjoyed it. I'll probably give that one not that high, probably a 6.5 out of 10 for me.
All right. Well, you are entitled to be wrong. So
I'm glad. I'm glad because I was missing your thoughts last week because all of your talk about when we were going through Andor about how like objectively you saw how it was a good show, but there were elements of it that just weren't your taste. Like I've been kind of feeling the same way about the Bad Batch. Like my taste. And I was wondering last week, like, is it mostly because I just don't think this was a good, episode, or is it that my tastes are really just not in line with what they want the Bad Batch to be? Hearing someone like you who Bad Batch is very much your taste, saying that you didn't think that it was that great of an episode it reassures me a little bit.
Is it validating? Is it
validating that I just didn't like it because it was a Bad Batch. It was more than that. It was because it wasn't that great of a Bad Batch episode, and that's good to hear.
Ben, you validate me. Because we agreed on that episode.
That's the Valentine that you're sending to Ben. You validate me. Happy Valentine.
You validate me, Ben.
Happy Valentine.
We'll hang out. We'll hang out in the corner together. It'll be great fun.
Ben's Connection Corner.
In Ben's Connection Corner. Yeah. That's the sort of connections we're making now. We've moved past canon connections.
There's a new member.
Now it's
a new member.
Member
of
now
the Connection Corner.
Spiritual connections.
Valentine's Day's coming up. Make sure that you go to Ben's Connection Corner to get your connection before Valentine's Day.
Yeah, Ben, if you ever started
connections
one of those,
here, hot connections.
Have you ever started like a hot connections? It just clicked. Oh dear. Moving on. Let's go. Plugs. Let's go. Before we dwell on this for too long.
Dominic's just being led into that with a blindfold. Where are we going, guys? Where are we going?
You take out the blindfold. It's Tim Morrison and Ben in the hot tub.
The Polynesian spa.
The Mandalorian spa.
Season 3. Just
definitely a hot tub at Ben's Connection Corner.
All right, let's plug some things so we can talk about this week's episode. One that I think we'll find more agreements on.
If you're not subscribed, please punch that subscribe button. Chewy, you can super chat with us if you're listening or watching us live, and you can become a channel member as well to support us when we're not live. Please subscribe as well. Leave a review on your favorite podcast app that you're listening to us on. If you're listening over there, you can buy the shirt that I am wearing, the Andor themed Culture Slate shirt over at cultureslate.com/store. We also have Bad Batch themed shirts. I actually do not have one. Shame on me. I need to go get one.
Shame.
And show it off.
Shame.
But we also have Bad Batch themed
Shame.
over there as well.
Ding.
Yes.
Shame.
We need a bell prop. And
Same.
you can also join. There we go. Cowbell. You can also join the Star Wars Underworld Network Discord. That's where we have our game nights. We're gonna have some watch parties and fun stuff over there as well.
Go vote in the poll. We are gearing up next week for a new our first ever watch party. We're going to be watching a Star Wars movie. You got to go to the Discord to vote for the poll. I believe the options are A New Hope, Force Awakens, Phantom Menace, and the Clone Wars movie.
Last I saw, Ben, the Clone Wars movie was winning.
Yes,
that's the one that I voted for. That's the one that I voted for. Okay.
I gotta vote. I haven't voted yet.
What is this community?
Make sure this wins.
Right now, it's a tie. It's a tie between the Clone Wars movie and the Phantom Menace with A New Hope.
Yes.
No, wait. I'm looking at the same number of people that voted for the Clone Wars movies, just like the post. Then the Phantom Menace is in second place. So the Clone Wars movie is leading. But if you want to change that, hustle over to the Discord and watch that. There was a great interview this week that came out with Henry Gilroy where he talked about some stuff from the Clone Wars movie, and there's a deleted scene from that movie involving a Rancor, and Gilroy talks about George made them cut that scene out of the movie. And I'm pretty sure the scene is pretty much done. Like you could watch it on the Blu-ray or the DVD.
Yeah.
But George made them cut it out because he didn't ever want to repeat what he had done before. And so he didn't want to do another Rancor scene. And he told Gilroy that if they left the scene in, he would create a creature that ate Rancor poop, and he would call it a Gilroy. And that would be Henry's punishment.
Oh my god!
You think, oh, I got this great gig writing a Star Wars TV show and a movie with George Lucas, and he's like, I'm going to name a character after you that eats Rancor feces. Seems like a great job. But
Getting bullied by George.
Yeah, I think maybe next week we'll bring some more quotes from that Gilroy interview to the show because it's really quite interesting. He says some things about Rebels that I think are quite interesting. So we'll maybe that's a tease for next week. Tease for next week. But for this week, we are talking about the Bad Batch, season 2, episode 6, Tribe, written by Matt Michnovitz and directed by Stuart Lee. The return of Gunji and our return to Kashyyk as well, which is pretty exciting. The Bad Batch, of course, originally, if the Clone Wars had continued, would have had a whole arc on Kashyyk, and they kind of allude to it in this episode. But we actually, for one episode, we got to see a taste of what that might have looked like. But let's get into the episode, and we'll start how we always do. Go around the table, give some initial impressions, and Ben, as always, gonna throw it to you first. What did you think of Bad Batch, season 2, episode 6, Tribe?
Yeah, so I quite enjoyed this one. I do have maybe one complaint, which I'll maybe get into later, just about the overall season. But this episode was really enjoyable. Just the fact that we going back to Kashyyyk, which is not a planet we go to often. And yeah, I love Wookiees. I freaking love Gunji. He's so cute. Anyway, but some really great, I think, character moments in this episode that I think may actually play into stuff down the road. But definitely this episode was about, kind of this act against the Empire and this whole idea and having them interface with a Jedi, which is something we really haven't seen the Batch do in quite some time. So I liked it quite a bit. Obviously, Gunji coming back was a great little nod. We didn't get too much information about him or his pals. What happened to them? I don't know. But yeah, really just a fun episode. And again, visually stunning. I feel like a broken record continuing to go back this, but like this episode was genuinely beautiful in moments. And really just, further drives on the fact that the animation is bar none, just incredible. But oh yeah, overall, really enjoyed this one.
All right. Chris, what about you? What'd you think of this episode?
I'm going to say that this is what I like to be a baseline for this show. Like it wasn't an episode that was my favorite episode ever of the Bad Batch, but it was a fun episode. It was a rewarding episode to watch. And I wish that if I could say what should every episode bare minimum have, it would be the elements of this particular episode. I think the thing that was most interesting to me was seeing the Bad Batch, and especially Omega, interact with a force user, because that's not something that we've seen that much of, if at all. I don't think so. That was kind of fun. I loved the shot when Gunji used the force to pull the lightsaber to him for the first time, and it just went to Omega's face, and her eyes just like widened, like, whoa, like what is that? Like that was probably my favorite part of the episode was that subtlety there, the facial expression of her reacting to that. So I thought that was that was really, really cool. So fun episode. I think this is where the show kind of hits its stride a little bit for season 2.
Yeah, there's a shot in one of the action scenes of Genji with his lightsaber drawn and Omega with her bow pulled, and they're kind of standing back to back. And I'm like, I would watch this show.
Yeah,
this show of Omega and Genji on an adventure together. Just like, let's get like a 4-episode arc of that. I'd be down for that. Hannah, what did you think of this episode?
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this episode. I think, like I mentioned before, like with last week's episode, feeling a little kind of disconnected, just not really fully getting involved. I think emotionally attached to what we've seen so far, apart from like the Cody stuff. So this week's episode, I felt that totally changed for me. That really kind of flipped a switch for me. I was just like, this is great storytelling. And, it's one of those episodes, like I think we move away from Kashyyk now and, Bad Batch will go off and we'll see something totally different next episode. Well, we'll talk about it, but, I think it's all going to be clone-centric episodes next week. But it just proves that in 25 minutes or 28 minutes, however long this episode was, like just how much emotion they were able to convey with everything kind of aligning, like the story content, the characters we met, the music, the scenery, like everything just felt to me like to all knit together really well in this episode. And particularly I just found the silent, there was like moments that there wasn't a lot of dialogue in this episode, which I felt did a lot for the story of like this 20-minute story. I think it did a lot of kind of the classic it's a very Clone Wars thing to be like, oh, look at these people that have been affected by war. Like it's one of those very classic Star Wars things, but they keep showing examples of it and it's still moving. Like I wasn't like crying upset, but I felt like moved to be like welling up in near the end of the episode. And, just talking about Genji'S place, and especially very, very unique to have a Padawan and still at the age he is and being completely disconnected from the Jedi Order. And obviously because it's been eradicated. So it's like, what does he do now? Like we've had the stories of, Kenobi after Order 66 and, his journey, but he's like a grown man. And we've had Cal Kestis, but Cal's an adult at that point and does a different path. But like Genji is still a young child. I don't know how old he's meant to be, like 13-ish, maybe for 12.
Yeah, I mean, he's not even a Padawan, right? In Clone Wars.
Oh, yeah, well, exactly, yeah.
Years.
Sorry, yeah. He's still just a youngling, and so it's like he's really a child. And I just found that such an interesting concept, having him. Yeah, like he knows he needs to go. Like he should just go back to Kashyyk. Like he doesn't know what else to do. I'll go back to Kashyyk. Like it was just such a beautiful premise. I really found this a beautiful episode. Yeah. There's not going to be much disagreement, I think, about the quality of this episode. I think it was a really solid, good story that had a lot of heart to it. Is it my favorite episode of the show? Probably not, but it's up there. It's in the sort of the upper tier, the upper half of episodes. And I think you're right, Hannah. I think a lot of it is the stuff that's unspoken in the episode. It is the quiet moments. If last week they were over explaining things to, do their puzzles and all that stuff, this week they were letting moments just sort of be. And there's some stuff that I think is implied in this episode that could have been talked about. And maybe even it might have been to the benefit of the episode to talk about it. But they chose not to, and they left it unsaid. They didn't force it into the dialogue. And I do think it works. And I think it works sort of on two levels. It works on just kind of the sit down, watch an episode, enjoy it for 25 minutes. But it also works as, something that you can sort of think back on and think about its place in the larger story. Let's start with Genji, because we've been talking about him a little bit. And Chris, I'll throw this to you because you brought this up already. Seeing the Bad Batch and Omega in particular, I think this is the first time Omega's met a Jedi or someone who uses the Force. I can't think of
anyone else. What did you make of their interactions with a Jedi, a year and some odd months post Order 66?
Yeah, I mean it's really it's fascinating. I'm sure I'm trying to think here about, what she would know. I mean, she probably knows a good amount about the Jedi, growing up on Camino. You can't imagine that they would let the clones get onto the battlefield being commanded by Jedi without having some type of training about what they're capable of and what they're about and such. So she probably at least has the kind of the book knowledge of who the Jedi are, but that's definitely no substitute for actually being there and seeing one. And so it's really cool to kind of see that moment there. And we're still kind of trying to figure out, why Omega is really how she fits into the Bad Batch, because all of these clones, they're mutants, and as far as we can tell, the really only mutant thing about her is her gender. So what else is there? Anything else there? Any other special abilities that she has? And at points we were wondering, does she have a bit of the Force? And then you have,
I'm back on that team, by the way.
Yeah. And then you have, you have that direction that they were kind of going in a little bit with Finn, this idea that really anyone could potentially access the Force, that they really didn't, kind of fizzled out with the storytelling there. And so you wonder how that, if they're really trying to set something up there with her and that connection with Gunji and starting to learn what that stuff is. So that's interesting. So it's a lot of setup, and I'm interested to see where it goes. And we've talked before about how we really think Ahsoka at some point is going to show up in this show. I wonder if this is kind of setting the table for that a little bit as well, having them kind of interact with another Force user to then kind of set the scene for when Ahsoka comes along. Like, I'm curious about that too, if this is kind of like a bit of a foreshadowing type thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. I came out of that last episode of Tales of the Jedi going like, all that was missing was the title card saying Ahsoka Tano will return in the Bad Batch season 2, because it seemed to be setting up that path. But yeah, there's a couple of moments in this episode of just Omega seeming to be more in tune with the universe than anybody else around, other than Gunji. And when we go back to, if you go back to the very first episode of the show and the first couple of episodes of the show, I feel like there was a really sort of a strong hint, intentional or not, that Omega has some kind of deeper connection with the Force. And I think that was something that the show kind of got away from as it went on, and the story kind of moved away from that side of the Star Wars galaxy. And then in this episode, it sort of came roaring back, and there were a couple of moments where I'm like, I could see it going this way again. I didn't through this season up until now, but in these episodes, it does feel like Omega might have that Force sensitivity. But Hannah, I'll throw it to you. What did you think of Omega's interactions with Gunji in particular?
Well, finally, what I've been saying for like 2 years is coming to truth, that Omega is Force sensitive. But no, yeah, I think it's just so plausible. I obviously I don't think she'll ever be like technically trained as a Jedi or in the arts of some sort of form of Jedi arts. I think like we will somehow get the reveal that she is Force sensitive, but it's just in this whole other way. Like, it's just in this very, like, just connective. She's just this presence that as she gets older, she, seeks to give good into the world just with her, with her, the way she connects to things. And I think there was very important scenes in this episode when I thought it was really, really sweet at the end of the episode where Gunji was, praying, meditating with the tree. And she joined in with that, which I just thought that's like, they've really poised her to be so curious about it all. And I think that's quite purposeful, because I think she's just absorbing what all this means and what it is, and she's realizing that something in her is like that. Because I think about in this episode there was all these very odd scene, not odd, but just purposeful scenes where she would go sit next to Genji.
Yeah.
And she would be kind of looking at him, gauging him. What is his emotion? And that reminded me a lot of season 1 with her and Crosshair. When she was trying to gauge Crosshair and trying to empathize with him. I know you're angry. I know how you feel. And she does that a couple times in the first season. And I just think, yeah, she's just this forceful person, which is going to be explored later on. What was the question? Did that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
That's
okay.
the question. Yeah, and they're also just sort of drawing a parallel between Omega and Genji, as these are two characters that grew up in very specific circumstances, and those circumstances they've basically had the rug pulled out from under them, and they can't go back. It's not possible for them to go back. Omega can't go back to Kamino. Genji can't go back to the Jedi. And so now, where do they go? What do they do? What does the galaxy look like for them? And I think, and this is something I want to get into later, but I think that's a big theme for this season as a whole. And I feel like this episode states it pretty explicitly towards the end. But Ben, we'll go to you next. I mean, what did you think of Genji and his sort of role in this story?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Since we saw that youngling arc, we're like, yay, younglings! But also, what happens to these kids? Oh God,
that's why
I don't even want to think about Order 66. But here we are, and we don't get any confirmation. We don't get any mention of his old buddies. We do get, another Jedi on the run. I know it may be bugging some people. I've kind of gotten over at this point because I was all on board Yoda says he's the last of the Jedi, so Luke is literally the last Jedi. He's the only Jedi in the entire universe by Return of the Jedi.
Because Ben, no Jedi in the original trilogy tells a half truth or a lie, or it makes you think it's something that's true from a certain point of view.
And the other thing too is that the purge is a thing, and it doesn't happen overnight. Like the purge is throughout the dark times. I think by the time you get to A New Hope, there's not a lot of them left by the way that they talk about like the ancient religion and like all that stuff. It sounds like they're pretty detached from it. But I think for the first like 5 to 10 years, the purge is active. Those Inquisitors are there for a reason. Like there's a lot of Jedi out there, a lot of Force users out there at this time.
And in Obi-Wan Kenobi in the show, it's kind of suggested that the Inquisitors at that point, which is 10 years on, are kind of running out of things to do.
Yeah,
there aren't many Jedi left. There's Benny Safdie and there's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then there's a few others, and but they're kind of at the end of their assignment.
And I think you have to pull back on the point, especially Return of the Jedi, of like, the point is not that Luke is the only Jedi left and he's the only one. The fact is, he's the son of Darth Vader. He's the only person in that moment who can reach Vader and save him and save the galaxy and bring balance to the Force. That's the point of that movie. It really isn't all about, there's 5 Jedi left and they could technically gang up on Vader and take him out. No, that's not the point. And I think, this is my conspiracy theory here, I think there's a genuine merging or positioning of certain characters, including Genji, that can live a very long time, that will eventually show up in the post 9
season 4 of The Mandalorian, baby. Bring on Genji.
It is
so I like
fascinating.
I think like you've got Grogu, obviously can live a very long time. You've got Genji. I think you're looking at, look, I'll just say it. Genji is a distinguished member on the Jedi Council that is headed by Rey Skywalker. I'm just gonna say it.
Did Damon Lindelof watch this episode? That's the question we have here.
Genji. see something going on here.
Gunji, Grogu, yeah. There's a crew. That's a pretty decent Jedi
Also,
council.
Genji was a cute baby version of a classic Star Wars character with a G name long before Grogu. Genji's coming back being like, look at me. Look at me. I was here long
Baby
before
Chewie.
you guys.
Baby Chewie.
What one little this is like I'm pulling the meaning out of it here, but in my head this makes sense that the episode that we get of those younglings where they go to Ilum in the ice caves and they all kind of have their own little journey of trying to find their kyber crystal. Genji's thing that he's like faced with to get his crystal is patience, and he has to be patient to get his crystal, and like he's got to like learn patience because he's impatient. But I kind of love how in this episode he's like every turn he's impatient, like Hunter like turns around and Genji's like sprinting away to like go do it, and then like that happens like at least 3 times in this episode. Like Genji's just like getting into it, and he's just he's still a little bit impatient.
I'm pretty sure in Shri Wookiee shouted Leroy Jenkins at least once. So
yeah, you wonder, if Genji makes another appearance on the show, which let's hope this isn't his first and final appearance. I can't imagine it would be. But if that impatience might get him into a bit of trouble. That being said, he did also show, once they got to be with the larger sort of community of Wookiees, he was there with the rest of them kneeling and doing the praying thing with the tree.
He calmed down. He
does calm down, but he is still a kid, and he passed that test. But I think those tests, it's not like you pass them once. This is the Luke Skywalker and the Last Jedi thing. It's not like you pass a test once and then you never face that challenge again. It's almost, I feel like those tests are sort of saying to the kids, this is going to be your challenge in life. For Genji, it's to be patient. For Petro, it's to think of others. For the Nautilin kid, it's not to rely on technology. It's to be more aware of the world around you. I can't remember what the other ones do, but sure.
Katuni, Zat.
What are Zat? What are the names?
Zat's the Nautilin kid.
Katuni, Ganodi, and Biff.
Yeah.
Biff.
But like they all have to. They all have to like be those are the lessons. Those are their big sort of challenge. That's going to be their thing that they have to face over and over in life. What's
the youngling with the challenge is they've got a cold like the whole 3 episodes. What's that one?
Katuni.
He was Katuni constantly sniffling. It's like it's that child at hanky or something, man.
But we know where she wound up. She's on adventures with Hondo. Because he
yes
feels so safe when she's around. Which I mean, there is a reunion waiting to happen. Get Genji and Katuni back together and bring Hondo into this show.
That'd be awesome.
Bring it on. That'd be awesome. The other thing that's interesting, we've talked about Genji and Omega a lot, but Genji's reaction to the Bad Batch in general. He kind of is weary of them. You see it as soon as Echo shows up. He's like, I don't know about this. And then the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So he has to sort of fight with them to escape. But even when they're on the ship, when they're on the Havoc Marauder and the rest of the Bad Batch come to like see if he's all right, he's like growling at them. He's ready to fight. He doesn't trust them. And Hunter, and this is one of those things that goes kind of unsaid in the episode, but I think it's there if you want it to be. Hunter really wants to help Genji, and they draw the connection that between Genji and Omega as kids, and Hunter feels for them that they have to grow up in this terrible galaxy. But something I wish the episode would have gotten into a little bit, and I do think it's there if you want it to be, but I wish they'd said it, is this is a chance for Hunter to get something right that he got wrong in the very first episode of the show. And that is, think about the opening scenes of Aftermath. It's Order 66. It's Kanan. Hunter is trying to help Kanan, and Kanan won't accept that help. And here you have Genji, a Jedi in a very similar situation, a young Jedi, not a full knight, not even a Padawan, is on his own in the galaxy. And for Hunter, this is a chance to do it over again and to actually help this kid get to somewhere where he can be safe or safer. There's no safe place in the galaxy. And that's something that I think kind of goes unsaid in the episode, but I wish had been brought up, because I think that's a strong tie to the first season and where this story all began, is with Hunter trying to save Caleb Dune and being unable to. Caleb escapes. Obviously, we go on to see him in Rebels, but not because of anything Hunter does, really. So, wish they'd brought that up. Missed opportunity. That's all I'm saying. Although some things maybe are left better unsaid. Let's talk a little bit about Kashyyk, because we see this is our return to Kashyyk for the first time since, I'm gonna say, Revenge of the Sith. Really, I haven't seen it a whole heck of a lot. Ben, I'll throw it to you. What did you think of seeing of heading back to the Wookiee homeworld in the way that we did, and seeing it in this time post Fall of the Republic?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was probably the most exciting part of the episode, is seeing Kashyyyk. Kashyyyk is probably one of my favorite planets. Just the fact, and part of that is just the fact that we don't see it very much. We haven't gotten that much on Kashyyyk over the years. We've glimpsed it, and it's been part of Star Wars lore for so long. We almost got it in Return of the Jedi. We got a little bit of it in Revenge of the Sith. I play it in Lego Star Wars. It's really cool. But other than that, we really don't have that much. And I always love the idea of Clone Wars going there, which we never really got. And now we're getting to Bad Batch, which is really cool. And that's let's face it, that's that old Clone Wars reel showing the Bad Batch arc on Kashyyyk. Really painful to watch that and know it's not going to get animated. And once we got season 7, it's like, okay, this is done. This is forever. We're not going to get this. The Bad Batch coming along was like, okay, maybe they can take some of this. And I loved that we got so many of the parts of that mythology that was established that I heard Dave Filoni talking about on stage about, oh yeah, they go down and they pray to the trees. I'm like, oh, they're praying to the trees. Filoni told me about this. This is great. Oh my gosh. So that was really cool. It's just really cool to see all things. See the giant lion monkey dudes that they ride on.
They were great.
I remember that concept art of those.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just the sheer scale of Kashyyyk is amazing. Just like having, oh yeah, of course, Wookiees would live on a place with enormous trees. Like I'm not talking about redwoods. I'm talking about like city-sized trees. That's a fascinating concept. So I'm really glad that, I hope now that it's all rendered and it all looks beautiful, we can get some more Kashyyyk stuff in the future Star Wars animation. And hopefully this will lead to more stuff in live action too.
Yep, they're setting up for that animated version of the Star Wars Holiday Special and CGI, directed by Dave Filoni, doing it again right.
Yeah, maybe they'll get it right.
For the record, this is a Chewbacca in a red Snuggie. This is sold at Disney parks, okay? You cannot watch the holiday special, but if they sell this, there's a whole section of holiday special stuff in their stores.
They're foreshadowing something.
Are they?
I mean, Kashyyyk, they're selling the merch. They have a piece of it, the animated piece of it out. They're just depriving people. They're just getting people ready for the shock.
Depriving people is an interesting turn of phrase.
Stir
in
Whip
describing
is coming.
The holiday special.
The Stir Whip cookbook is coming this Christmas, and that's the last thing.
Oh my goodness.
It was really cool to see this planet in Jedi Fallen Order. I did think of that part of the game a lot watching this, and actually thinking, going, oh, we're not too we're still like a couple of years after, like Fallen Order was a couple of years after we're on it now in Bad Batch, but I just was thinking, I was trying to add up in my head. I'm like, oh, could we meet later on, Genji meeting Cow. Like, could that be a thing later on? I don't know.
Maybe.
But yeah, Kashyyy's a great.
We'll find out on April 28th.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the thing. Yeah, I thought it was. I really liked seeing the connection that the Wookiees have to their home world. You know, and it shows the side of the galaxy that the Empire doesn't appreciate. You know, they don't see any value in the connection that people have to their home worlds. They see the Wookiees as just a resource, as a bunch of super strong, muscly people to, you know, do things for them. And they see Kashyyk as a place with resources that can be mined, one of which is the super strong, muscly people. And so they don't view this really deep connection that the Wookiees have with the trees as being of anything of value. And anything, because they go in and they cut down the trees and they take the Wookiees off world. They send them to Kessel, they send them to Mimban, and they send them, you know, all over the galaxy to just, you know, be slaves and, you know, building the war machine of the Empire. But we see in this episode just how valuable that connection that they have with their land is. You know, the fact that they can, you know, call upon those critters that live on the planet to come and help them out in a situation that they really do live, you know, in a symbiotic way with the rest of the planet. You know, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan spent a lot of time in not A New Hope, in the Phantom Menace, talking about the real first Star Wars movie, talking about you know, the relationship between the Naboo and the Gungans, and how both sides of that really refuse to see it. And what we see on Kashyyyk is both sides of it seeing the value in the other ones. And even the scene where they're walking through the spider webby stuff, and, you know, Wrecker's cutting through it with his knife, looking like, you know, some British fellow on a safari in, you know, India in you know, several centuries ago. You know, Genji's the one that goes, no. Like, like, let's not fight. If we just walk through, if we don't disturb them, they won't disturb us. We have this sort of understanding that we have to share this planet. This is our world, and we have to share it. And what's good for them is good for us, and what's good for us is good for them ultimately, as long as we're not, you know, taking away from the other one. And that scene where all the Wookiees go and prey on the tree is really powerful. It's really beautiful. And you know, the way they go into battle and everything. This episode, I think, you know, we talked about how it delves into the Force a little bit, but it's very spiritual beyond the Force, I would say. And you know, I guess the Force is everything, but, you know, it takes it outside of the sort of the Jedi terms and puts it into a way that we don't always see it in Star Wars. We tend to see the Force as a power, as lifting rocks, when really it's something deeper. And I think the Wookiees have a deep understanding of that, and that's probably why they have good relations with Yoda. I think that's probably why it all that all works
Good
out.
relations with the Wookiees, I have.
Exactly.
It's interesting because it's like, you know, a lot of times we associate the Force with the Jedi and the Sith in like a one-to-one way, where, you know, it's wherever there's the Sith, there's Jedi, and wherever there's the Force, of Jedi and Sith, and vice versa. But you remember, you know, that explanation of the Force. The first explanation of the Force is, you know, the Force is what gives Jedi their power. The Force isn't the Jedi. And so, you know, it's something else, and, you know, an energy field that, you know, binds us and penetrates us. And so there's so many things in the galaxy that are going to access and relate to the Force beyond the Jedi and beyond the Sith. And that's something that, you know, sometimes Star Wars touches upon, and other times it really just kind of relegates it to the realm of the Jedi and the Sith, and stories about them, which is, I do like it whenever, you know, it's brought up outside of that context, because I think it's more realistic and within the realm of kind of what it was designed to be originally.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of, we were talking about Kanan earlier. Freddie Prinze Jr. went on that big rant on that podcast a couple years ago, and he talked about sort of the video gamification of the Force, and it's how it's like a power bar. And it's not that. And you understand why the Star Wars video games present it that way. It's sort of it's a good way to sort of communicate the game, and it makes for fun playing and all that stuff. But it's not that. It's something deeper. It's something more spiritual, and that's something that, you know, The Last Jedi plays around with. And, you know, people went into that movie thinking, oh, Luke Skywalker's going to rip a Star Destroyer out of the sky. And really, Luke Skywalker's like, Jedi do not own this power. It's not ours. It's not about lifting rocks. It's about a deeper connection with the universe. And that whole sequence, you know, if you want to understand the Force, watch that sequence in The Last Jedi where, you know, Rey talks about, you know, all the different, you know, just feel all the stuff you can feel and sense on the island. And that's very much feels in tune with what the Wookiees are doing in this episode. That's the Force. You watch that scene, you watch this scene, and you watch the Dagobah stuff. Obviously, that's
I mean, we can only assume that that's what the Wookiees are tapping into. They are finding a way to tap into the Force, and I like the whole idea. Like going back, I can't remember who said it. Maybe George Lucas. You know, said like, you know, Han Solo, when he flies the Millennium Falcon, he's tapping into the Force in a small way. Like everyone is, it's not, it doesn't belong to any one person. The Jedi can just visibly and very powerfully are tapped into it and can use it and manipulate it. But everyone has access to it. And they're, you know, when they're going in there and they're quote unquote praying or talking to the trees, you know, the trees are that's the midi-chlorians and everything. It's in every living thing, and the trees are part of that, and that connects everything. And I like how they go with it, and they're like they're like banging the butts of their gun on the trees, like now. I'm like, okay, this is how it works. Okay,
and I mean the Trandoshans are literally burning the forest.
Oh,
like they're taking away that connection that the Wookiees have.
Forget Empire being the big bad. These damn Trandoshans are like meddling everything. They just ruin everything. They are such bullies. No wonder
they are the worst. They are the worst. Trandoshans are the worst.
Yes.
Didn't we have this conversation a couple of weeks ago on the pod?
Yes, we've already firmly established our Trandoshan racism. Okay,
that's right. We're
firmly in that camp.
Trandoshans. That's right. Yeah,
I don't feel bad about it either. Maybe a little bit.
I mean, it's. I love how Star Wars keeps weaving this in and out because it's like you have that scene with Black Chrysanthemum and the Trandoshans in the nightclub.
In Book of Boba,
in Book of Boba, and then you have the Wookiee hunt pair of episodes in the Clone Wars that was about that. So you know this rivalry between the Trandoshans and the Wookiees, you know, that goes back really far into Star Wars lore, and they keep bringing it back.
And this is probably the biggest like example of it thus far. The fact that, you know, you have Trandoshans working, mostly Trandoshans. There's only a few clone troopers, just mostly just Trandoshans doing the dirty work with these tanks and burning down the things and taking, Wookiees prisoner. It's really cool, but also terrifying.
I imagine it's like there's a scene in The Simpsons where Homer goes to the NFL and he was going to do the NFL halftime show, and they say, "This is how much we're going to pay you." And he goes, "Ha, suckers, I would have done it for free." And they go, "Okay, do it for free." He goes, "Oh, okay. Well, ha, suckers, I would have paid you to do it." And they go, "Okay, pay us." So he pays them. That's what I imagine the Trandoshans and the Empire negotiating was like. The Empire was like, "We'll give you 10,000 credits." The Trandoshans are like, "Ha, suckers, we would have done it for free." The Empire's like, "Okay, do it for free." The Trandoshans like, "We would have paid you." Like, "All right, pay us, sure, whatever."
Oh man, but they are dirty. They are dirty. Do not like the Trandoshans.
As soon as
Trandoshan.
As soon as I saw the Trandoshans in there burning the forest, I thought of you too, Ben and Hannah, because I remember that conversation we had. I was like, those Trandoshans. When are we gonna get a nice Trandoshan in Star Wars? Damn it!
Like we thought it was going to be Sid, the lovely kind of old Ma of the Tavern one.
Yeah.
But no, she's like all weird now and criminally backgrounded.
Yeah. We're being set up to have her betray the Bad Batch at some point.
Right?
There was Trandoshans in that crawler episode in Rebels. they're like strip mining like Lothal. There's like
Yeah.
Trandoshans in that one too. They're all bad. I'm telling you, they're all bad.
Yeah, got knocked.
Got
Bosk.
knocked. Yeah, all of them. We need a rebel general Trandoshan. Just someone to show the other side.
Yeah.
Is that in Squadrons? That's in Squadrons.
Oh, is
the
there?
game? There's a part of your squad. There's a Trandoshan rebel pilot.
There we
there's
go.
one. We've got one.
There's one.
right.
There's one.
Nah, I've seen him. He's sus. He's sus. I don't trust him.
Squadrons
Profiling.
2, the big twist in Squadrons 2 is he betrays everybody. You're like,
Trandoshan
come on,
betrays everybody.
come on. Even Skier in the High Republic, man. That guy, he's a good guy, but bad things happen to him.
I mean, the name's Scare.
Yeah.
Anyway.
By the way, all that stuff we were talking about with the Force, it did make me think. I'll just shout out the High Republic because there's some real interesting stuff going on in Phase 2 of that with the Force and what it means, how the Jedi view the Force versus how other people view the Force. And the path of the open hand. We'll shout them out and their interesting thoughts on the Force. But that's a topic for another day. So back to this episode.
Anyway,
yes. I want to bring up the kind of the last moment in the episode, which is when Omega and Genji are sort of praying at the tree. You have Hunter has the conversation with the older Wookiee, and I'm trying to bring up the moment here, but the Disney Plus app is frozen on my phone, so I can't.
Classic Disney Plus app.
Can't get the actual quote, so I'm just gonna stall for a little bit of time while I try and bring it back up again. But it's this moment at the end of the episode where, the rest of the Bad Batch are sitting around the table. Wrecker is drinking a giant pitcher of whatever that Wookiee stuff is. Even Echo is enjoying it. He's finally given it a try, and Hunter kind of walks away from it. He's watching Omega and Genji, and you can tell he's feeling sad about the state of the galaxy and what's going on. And he has this conversation with the elder Wookiee, whose name is, it's like Yama or something. Yana, thank you.
Yeah.
And Tech is translating, and the elder Wookiee has this line that she says, "Perhaps one day we will all find a new path." And I feel like this has been the theme of the season. Is everybody is looking for their new path. And this goes back to what I've been saying about the last two episodes, what we've all been saying to a certain degree about the last couple of episodes, is we saw in those last 3 episodes what the galaxy looks like for Crosshair. We saw what a potential future could look like for Tech with the racing, and we saw what a potential future could look like for Omega with the treasure hunting. These are things that there's sort of, if those guys could do whatever they wanted in the galaxy, I have a feeling Omega would definitely be a treasure hunter. I don't know if Tech would choose racing, but he's starting to realize that there's more to the galaxy than what he's known. That's sort of what Genji wants in this episode. He was a Jedi and he's lost his path and he's looking for a new path. And so he wants to go home. And, when we first arrive on Kashyyk, we see the beauty of Kashyyk. We see it as this wonderful, lush, beautiful, forested planet. You can practically hear Rey saying, I didn't know there was this much green in the entire galaxy. Practically, it might as well have been tattooed on someone's face in this episode. And then as you descend into the planet, you start to see the scars of war. You start to see what the Empire is doing. And what looks to be a beautiful, hopeful future for Genji and for all of them in a way, you start to realize it's not there. It's not going to be that. And even though Genji does get some feeling of home from it, we know from Jedi Fallen Order, we know from the books and some of the other stories that come out later that things get real bad on Kashyyk. And I have a feeling we're going to see some of that more on this show. And so this beautiful, hopeful picture of the galaxy gets wrecked by the Empire. And in the last 2 weeks, we've seen places that have largely been untouched by the Empire, where people were free to do what they want, whether that's racing, whether that's treasure hunting, whatever. And what we see in this episode is kind of a culmination of that idea, is that these beautiful places may exist, but they won't exist for much longer. The Empire is coming. The Empire is tightening its grip. It's closing its fist. And Kashyyk is just sort of the first domino to fall. And the rest of the galaxy will soon follow. And so, they all, perhaps one day everyone will find their new path. Well, Hunter's follow-up to that line is, hopefully one that's far away from war. They're kind of real, but I think Hunter is eventually, this is what I've been saying all season, is I think Hunter is going to have to realize that to find that new path that he dreams of for Omega and Genji and all the children out there in the galaxy, you're going to have to get rid of the Empire to get there. The Empire is a cancer on the galaxy that cannot be allowed to continue, and good people cannot run away from it. And Hunter, for all of his fighting, all of the fighting that he does, is kind of trying to run away from it. And he's gonna have to realize he can't run forever, that the Empire is going to catch up with him, and it's going to, make him and his friends pay if they continue trying to run. And we've talked about the Echo's connections with Rex and that sort of thing, and how that could bring them into the the larger rebellion storyline. I don't know where that's sort of going. But I really have liked this. To me, this what has worked this season is the episodes have felt very one-off, but I feel like they've all been connected thematically, and it harkens back to what they tried to do with Rebels season 2, where they tried to have this overarching plot line that was sort of, well, we're gonna go and find a rebel base, and that's the storyline for Rebels season 2. And that didn't really work for me because there's only so much going to one planet going, well, can't do a rebel base here. There's spiders, or there's a lava, or the Inquisitors are here. And so, this sort of vague, this loose overarching storyline didn't really work for me in Rebels season 2. But it's working for me here because it's not connected by some kind of plot idea. It's connected by a theme. And this theme for this season of you can't run from the fight forever has been there in all of the episodes. And the episodes are varying qualities. We can agree to disagree or like this episode and dislike that episode here and there. But I do think that the choices that have been made this season have been intentional. And I do think they are building to something. And I think we're starting to see that come together with this episode, because it takes those beautiful locales of the last couple of episodes and mashes them up with the horrifying reality of the Crosshair episode. And that all comes together on Kashyyk in this episode. So I all that to say, again, it's to say, I think season 2 is doing a good job on the theme front. So those are my thoughts. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that, or if we should keep moving, keep rolling through. Rolling through it is.
Rolling through.
Rolling through it is. I stunned you all to silence. You're so in awe of my brilliant point that you have nothing to say.
Not even an acknowledgement.
Not even
what you said. No.
Just thank you, Ben. Stunned. Just what do we think of those droids at the beginning of the episode? I kind of liked them. I thought they were fun.
Have we seen those droids before? They looked awfully familiar.
The head was very L3.
Well,
that's what I was thinking.
I was gonna save this for Ben's connection corner, but I'll save it.
I feel like you should. Maybe you should.
No, we haven't seen those droids before. I have no idea what.
Okay. Oh my god.
They reminded me kind of HK-47 a little bit.
Yeah. Combine HK-47 with L337, and you get kind of those droids. But I thought I liked an all droid criminal band. That was
very
kind of
rebels.
fun.
But it felt so rebels.
It did. Yeah, in a good way. In a good way.
They definitely these droids had a lot of personality to them. Like they were super intelligent. They seemed somewhat sentient. I mean, they're definitely kind of in like the tactical droid, like IG-80 droid type breed there.
Thought the design of that space station they were on really cool. Like I
Yeah.
don't know what that is,
Yeah.
what planet that's supposed to be, or whatever. Just a really cool
know.
design that we've never seen before.
I will say it was very Star Wars animation. That there's this great wide establishing shot of a new visual. Doesn't look like anything we've ever seen before. And then as soon as we go inside, it's the same hangar we've seen a million times, just slightly repainted. Like
it's better hangars and gardens magazine. Everybody just copies the same spread when they design their hangars.
Better Gardens and Hangars magazine, huh?
Yeah.
You think that's what they're reading on Coruscant?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Ben, you brought it up, so you know what's about to happen. It's time for your favorite segment. It's time for my favorite segment. It's time for everybody's favorite segment. It's time for Ben's Connection Corner. Connections in the corner with Ben. It's Ben's Connection Corner. Do.
How's it going, everybody?
Ben's Connection Corner is filmed in front of a live studio audience. I don't know how many weeks it's been, Ben, since you first came up with this idea. How much do you regret coming onto that Andor episode being like, so I've got this idea for Ben's Connection Corner?
I'm actively working on a time machine so I can go back in time and slap my former self and tell him not to do that.
You just show your former self the video and be like, this is what they do to the segment. This is what happens.
Look at what you did! Look at what you did!
All right, what do we got? What are the connections? What's here?
You're lucky I actually took notes and I have quite extensively. But it's a lot of obvious stuff, so just strap in. We got to mention a chain.
Wookiees are first Star Wars A New Hope. It's the same species as Chewbacca.
There you go. But how dare you say that?
End of segment. Yeah.
We got to mention a chain codes. Actually, they're delivering some chain codes to the droids and things, and that's something that's kind of new in Star Wars. Obviously, got to introduce the concept of it. Got introduced in Mandalorian, but then they brought it back, kind of the beginnings of it in season 1 and the episode Cut and Run. That was really cool. I have to wonder. Does anybody know what the droid Gatra is? Heard of that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's something from one of the books or something. I couldn't help but think of it in this episode of like just droids kind of doing their thing.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering the same thing if this was that, but they didn't. I don't think they are because I think they call it something else.
Right. But it's just like droids being independent. It was the last shot I think was like a droids almost doing a uprising and killing everyone kind of thing. Yeah, I don't remember the specifics, but makes me think anytime I see just strong, independent droids, they don't need no master out here doing their thing. I gotta think of the droid Gatra, so we'll see. We got a bunch of DC-15A blasters in a chest that are also used by the droids, and these are obviously the blasters that the clones used in the Clone Wars, and they have a lot of them on that space station, so I have to think like, is this just like leftovers, like just surplus? Just they're just throwing these things away, and there's gonna be a lot of them all around. So pretty cool. Previously, we mentioned the fact that the Wrecker mentions that they've been to Kashyyk before, and this is a direct kind of callback to the their first mission. So kind of in the similar way the Book of Boba Fett treated those old episodes of Clone Wars that literally never saw the light of day. It's canon, it happened, and they're going to mention it, although it's not as maybe egregious as that.
Yeah.
So also I couldn't help but notice Echo's kind of direct mention of deforestation, and just the whole idea like they're burning down things. That's one of my favorite books, weirdly, is Aftermath Life Dead from the Aftermath trilogy. That's a weird trilogy, I will admit. It's such a great book, and it lays out a grim picture for Kashyyk and what happens to it after this moment, and specifically after the events of Return of the Jedi. And it's grim. It's real grim. And, it's kind of what we're seeing here. It just gets so much worse. And part of me is like, I want to see that story continue. I want to see them, how they rebuild, but also kind of a depressing story. So I don't know if I'm prepared for that yet. But okay, this is a big one. So when they arrive on the planet, they go up and they see a collapsed building that's been destroyed on the things. I actually looked at this. You can clearly see it at like 12:58, something like that. In the episode, I matched up the boards on this thing, and I could swear this is they're actually matching the one from the holiday special.
Of course.
And if you look closely, you can even see a bit of like red fabric over in the corner, which I can only assume is a red Snuggie left over.
Yes.
Mrs. Lumpy's house.
Kidding.
So, maybe I think this is a direct reference to the fact that that Chewbacca's house got destroyed. But
that happens after.
Well, yeah, because I just made that up.
No.
Wait. Was all of that a lie?
Oh, every bit of it, yeah.
Oh my God.
This is April Fools. You're not allowed to do this in February.
Like, no way. They did it. Oh my God.
You bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Who do you think you are?
Just proves I can say anything on this damn segment.
I would only have given you that if it was like, the 4th of January and like Canadian dating would have had it look the same as April 1st.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, that's the only lie. Or is it? I don't know. We'll see.
It's just like 2 truths, 1 lie. Gotta figure out what's real.
That's the future of Ben's Connection Corner is 2 truths and a lie.
Look, I gotta make this interesting, okay? Look, I gotta entertain myself. All right.
Now we have to go back to all the other ones.
Yeah, right.
You're out.
Do we have to fact check Ben's Connection Corner now? Like, what's going on here?
It's Snokes.com that will.
Well played.
Another obvious one. We got AAT
is
tanks.
It or is it a lie? I don't know.
I don't know. Were there AAT tanks in this episode? You watch the episode and find out.
I'm feeling there were.
And I just have another note here. Quote: "More proof Trandoshans are the worst." End quote.
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's true.
Oh my God.
True.
What just happened? Go ahead, Hannah.
I want to start a new segment called Hannah's Miscellaneous Corner. Because there's so many things I have to say about this episode, but they didn't really fit anywhere in the conversation. But okay. I need to get them off my chest here.
It's a mini segment within a segment.
Yes, segment within a mini segment. First thing is the spiders. Again, calling back to Jedi Fallen Order, a lot of that game on Kashyyk, you're fighting these spiders. Did anyone else think they should have been the spiders that we fought in Fallen Order? Instead, there were those weird, like,
more synergy between these two things.
The weird hand, faced things.
I think.
Come on, they can't have 2 different spiders on things. You have like 10,000 different spiders in one country in Australia. Come on.
Yeah, I try. No, I'm being spiderist.
I think this is good. So. This is a small qualm I have with the episode. Is it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Ben, about how it calls back to a Clone Wars arc that we never actually saw. Because I'm pretty sure I've seen those spiders that we see in this episode in unfinished animation from this.
They were. These are the exact ones.
Yeah. And I feel like, that there's elements in this episode that are very directly pulled from those unfinished episodes from Clone Wars. And it was the creative team, I think, trying to take some of their ideas that they didn't get to do on Clone Wars and doing them here. And it worked, but it also was a little bit, I feel like there's a bit of a speed wobble to it because, the Bad Batch supposedly have a connection to Kashyyk, and they've been to Kashyyk before, and they've had adventures there, and they know a lot about it. They have, they have friends there, and yet they walk into that like spider web thing, just like, rip it down with a knife. Yeah, this is fine, all good here. And I feel like that's something that would have happened in the old Clone Wars arc when they first arrived on Kashyyk for the first time. But if we presume that the events of the previous arc happened, then then they should know already about this stuff. But they needed to introduce those spiders into the episode. So I feel like they used an old idea and they kind of shoehorned it into this episode, while also shoehorning in references to the fact that the Bad Batch have already been to Kashyyyk, and the two just didn't quite line up and sync up as I think they were hoping they would. So, but yeah. Anyways, continue with Hannah's miscellaneous corner.
Yes,
we'll come up with a song for it later.
Yeah, good. Genji, back to Genji. I've physically written it, and I've just written Genji. But what was it meant to say about him?
That was random. What Genji was in this episode?
Mention Genji because we haven't already. Something to do with his force. Oh yeah. Back when on the ship. Mega's just first met him, and they're we're figuring out what the hell's going on. And if someone mentioned the robot says, or Genji says it to Omega, no, maybe it is the robots, the droids say it. They robots in Star Wars, they're droids. They were like, oh, the
buyer.
I can't even describe what's in my head right now.
I know what you're thinking of. It's they say the buyer would pay.
Yes. Oh my god. Yes.
Yeah. That stood out to me
Someone
too.
says, the buyer. For Genji. And this feeds into my whole theory of this whole idea of cloning, midichlorian cloning, Snoke kind of Palpatine through line that they're putting through everything, they'll do it through Bad Batch, they'll do it through Mando, they'll do it through Jedi Survivor. I think it's just this really big thing. I think someone very important is trying to buy Genji or get Genji essentially.
Yeah, I mean, Wookiee Jedi are supposed to be rare, right? Even in those Youngling episodes, Huang, the David Tennant droid, says to Genji, we don't see many of yours on, as a Jedi or something to that effect. And part of that was a George thing, because the expanded universe back in the day wanted to have lots of Wookiee Jedi. And there was a character, Chewbacca's nephew, Lobaka. And George said to the EU writers, no more. You can't do any more Wookiee Jedi. You can't, that's not something I want. And there weren't any more post Lobaka until Genji came along, and Genji was a George creation. So, yeah.
Anyway, someone's trying to get him, and I think it's Palpatine.
Could be. Stranger things have happened.
I mean, we. It's not out of the realm of possibility, since we literally know Sheev shows up in this episode, in this season. So,
yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. That's what he's up to. I think that's how we'll see him. I think we'll see him in the next, Genji will show up again, near the end of the season, and it's Palpatine being where's my order of Jedi Wookiee that I needed to do tests on? And then the droids are well, we lost him to the Bad Batch. And then Sheev's the Bad Batch. And then
bunch of teenagers
would have gotten away with it.
Got away with it too if it hadn't been for you meddling clones.
Do you guys see, Futurama? Do you guys know that reference of Robot House? Do you know that reference?
No.
Yeah.
No,
That's a specific one.
I only know shut up and take my money. That's the only one I know.
Well, again, I feel that's what Sheev is doing for any Wookiee Jedi, any younglings.
I feel like Sheev, it doesn't actually pay people. He tells them he's going to pay them a lot of money, and then doesn't. And it's just no, that wasn't the deal.
Power, right?
Yeah. Well, Vader takes after his master. I'm altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Oh, you want your payment? Here's your payment.
Exactly. That's actually a quote from next week. Spoilers. You want your payment? Here's your payment. Do we have any other
Whose
miscellaneous?
segment is this? That segment is anyway.
That's all my miscellaneous thoughts.
Miscellaneous thoughts.
All I'm gone. Yeah.
Okay.
May I continue?
No, you got more.
You're still going?
Oh, I'm still going. I'm not done
Dude,
yet.
I thought you
segment.
finished like 20 minutes ago. What are you
Well, that's because
talking
Hannah's
about?
miscellaneous thoughts is inside Ben's connection corner. Like it's
Right.
a show.
Okay, so
It's
I
like
can
pops up.
only mention it mid.
yes, yes.
We've inceptioned our own show with all the segments.
Yep.
You
Because
don't
this is
ask
inside
me if
the
I'm done.
Bad
You just
review, which
weasel
is
your
inside the
little
main
segment
show.
into my segment.
Well, and next thing you know, we're going to
So
hear a rumor.
polite.
Just-
You're so polite, Ben.
That's a rumor.
Oh
Is
my
we have to
God.
get to like the 5th level of Inception to get to
yeah,
the rumor.
and then we'll bring back Bananarama.
Yes.
Ben.
Okay,
Take it away.
I got one more. I got a couple more.
All
more.
right.
Okay, like maybe 4 more. I don't know. So the music at the point when the spiders come down and grab the dude in the fire and like web him up and take him up. The music again, the Kiners are like pulling directly from John Williams. The music sounds a lot like Raiders of the Lost Ark, specifically the moment when there's like tarantulas all over Indy, just like brushing them off. They're like these little strings. I'm not going to do an impression of those because I can't. My mouth literally cannot do that.
I want you to though. I want you to.
No.
It's like they had to watch Raiders for the episode last week, and then they got all these other ideas for other episodes.
Wrecker speaks Shriwook, which is like I thought he was like imitating them. No, he was legitimately like speaking their language, which is like interesting because we've never outside of Solo, we've never seen a human do that. Like that's interesting. Like the whole idea that Han can speak a little, but whatever. We got a gray Wookiee. Yana is like kind of seems to be all gray, which is the whole kind of point around like the coloring on like Chewbacca, the fact that some of his fur is kind of gray and he's kind of middle-aged. You don't know what his age is, but like the fact that they go all gray at some point is pretty interesting. Also, one more. This is something. This is probably one of my biggest complaints of the whole episode. Really just burns me up that they did this. So we have the moment where they go to pray to the trees. And then later on, of course, they're like, they're doing the thing, and the trees come alive, and the trees have a plan, and they're gonna, do all this, and the trees fight back, and all the spiders come down. It's just a absolutely shameless ripoff of James Cameron's Avatar. Okay, just shameless. How dare you? How dare you? Just
Jake Sullivan would never. Oh man.
I thought it was more of a ripoff of Lord of the Rings, of the Ents coming alive.
Oh my god, they're ripping off Tolkien too. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The two greatest fantasy writers of all time, J.R.R. Tolkien and James Cameron. Absolutely. The greatest fantasy stories, Avatar,
shaking my head,
and the Lord of the Rings. I want to know more about the drink that they have at the end of the episode. I want some of that Wookiee, Wookiee vodka or whatever that is. They should be serving that at Oga's Cantina in Galaxy's Edge. I would absolutely.
And you can get one of the big boats of it for like a party. You all get like a straw.
Yes.
Shrinov.
Love it. Well,
so
is that it?
So, wait. Actually, no, that's it.
Okay, thank you. All right.
I want to introduce a new corner called Hannah's. No, I'm kidding.
I say we've been to all 4 corners at this point. We need another room.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll bring to an end another all over the place edition of Ben's Connection Corner. Connections in the corner with Ben. It's Ben's Connection Corner. Do.
How's it going, everybody?
Ben's Connection Corner is filmed in front of a live studio audience. Sometimes I worry that I'm overdoing it by playing the song twice, and then I hear the song, and I'm like, no, it's fine.
It rhymes, the ring theory.
Yeah, exactly. I got a super chat from Joel here. Joel says, fun fact, this is only the 3rd time we've seen Kashyyk on screen. The other times have been in video games and books and comics. So I guess this is this episode, Revenge of the Sith holiday special.
What about
1, 2, 3?
Oh yeah, that's right, because it was on a moon of Kashyyk before with the Wookiees, not
What
actually Kashyyk.
What
Wookiee Hunt.
moon?
On Wookiee Hunt. Oh yeah, that's I don't even. Is that a Wookiee
Ah.
moon? Yeah.
It was like I think it's a moon of Trandosha, I think.
Or Trandoshan. Well, the two planets are on the same system. I think, so.
Trandoshans.
So, yeah.
I did not know that.
Trandoshans.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else anybody wants to bring up about the episode? Or should we hit final thoughts, scores out of 10, and move on to some news?
Where's Quinlan Voss? I thought he was last seen on Kashyyk.
He's establishing the path. That's what he's up to. That's what he's doing these days.
Actually, I have a final thought. Thank you for asking. I should have added this to my miscellaneous thoughts. Why was Genji so pensive in that whole fire scene? That whole like the dude like getting surrounded by fire, and there's a really like important pause where Genji's just like looking at him, and he's just like having some thoughts, and he's looking at the guy, and then his thoughts are interrupted by Amiga being like Genji, and he's like, okay, I better go now, and then he leaves. I was like, what was that about? Anyway, food for thought. There's no really answer to that one.
Yeah,
but
maybe it's one of those sort of like moments of like, do I kill him? Do I let the spiders take him? What do I do? And Omega kind of bailed him out.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway. All right, well let's go around the table one more time. Give final thoughts and scores out of 10 for Tribe. And Chris, why don't you start us off?
It's a very good baseline episode. I think every episode should be as good as this or better of the show, or I will be disappointed. It was paced really well. There was some really good action in it. The music was great. The visuals were really, really cool, kind of cool extension to Star Wars lore with the culture of the Wookiees. It's something I want to continue seeing more of. I hope this means we're going to see the holiday special on Disney Plus. Let's go. I still think they're priming us for something. And I just feel in general, the show's kind of back on track after kind of a few episodes that didn't really do it for me, and especially last week. So I think hopefully they kind of through that point of kind of the weaker stories, and they're kind of getting more into some good stuff. So kind of back excited for the show again. So 8 out of 10, solid baseline Bad Batch episode.
8 out of 10 from Chris. And yeah, next week is a 2-parter. So I feel like
that's
2-parters do tend to push us more into big story areas. Hannah, what about you? Final thoughts, score out of 10 for Tribe.
Really enjoyed this episode. Very similar to you, Chris. I was a little bit let down with the meat and the depth of the episodes from the past 2 weeks. Yes, they were fun, but just weren't there for me. Where this week was like, I felt it really moved me. I thought the whole concept, the storyline, the journey of the Wookiees was, it's very sad to see their village ruined, and it did teach something of the importance of tribe and how community is with the people and not the place. And I felt like it was a good depth of an episode. Very, very happy. I would give this one a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10 from Hannah. Ben, what about you? Final thoughts, scores out of 10 for season 2, episode 6.
Yeah, like I said, visually stunning episode. More Kashyyk is great. More Wookiees is great. More Genji was amazing, and I hope this is not the last time we see him in this show or otherwise. And just I think some great character moments for the Batch and for Omega, and just all around, I think was a fun episode to kind of continue leading off. I think my overall kind of complaint maybe about they kind of include this episode is just like, where are we going here? What are we doing? Where are we actually going with the story? I'm getting more and more curious. I think there's definitely some hints at things. There's definitely a lot of stuff going on here that we've talked about in the past, which is like, exploring different ideas for what the Batch could be going for and what jobs they are going to have in the future. But I want some more concrete stuff. I'm hoping the next couple episodes, which I've heard are really good, will start to get more into, kind of the main theme of then start hitting hard on that. I think this episode was a step in the right direction though. And like I said, music, everything is fantastic. And just overall a very emotionally powerful episode. And got more stuff. I think just the strengthening of the mythology around Wookiees and getting to get to know them more and their culture was great. So I will also give it a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10 from Ben. I'm trying to decide if I want to go 8.5 or 9. Screw it. I'm going 9. I really enjoyed the episode. Obviously, there's a few sort of weaknesses I think come from trying to shoehorn in some ideas from the old Kashyyk arc that don't quite fit in this episode as well as they would have in a 4-part Clone Wars arc. It's hard to do ideas from a 4-episode arc in 1 episode, even if you have a little bit more time in that 1 episode than you would have in the other episodes. So I think there's a couple of weaknesses there. I didn't love the design of the Wookiees. I felt like Clone Wars really nailed the look of Wookiees.
I think Rebels did. I think Rebels nailed the look of Wookiees. Correction.
That's my problem with it is I feel like their heads in this episode, with the exception of Genji, who looks like they just sort of moved him from Clone Wars over to this, looked more Rebelsy. They looked a little too smooth, whereas Wookiees have a lot of texture to their heads because they're furry. Those are sort of small weaknesses in an otherwise pretty stellar episode. Like I said, I feel like this episode is stating clearly the theme of this season so far, and I like the way it's pulled together the ideas of the previous episodes into this one, and just the idea of seeing Omega and a Force user working together, returning to the idea that maybe Omega's a little bit more in tune with the Force than most people. And just seeing the spiritual connection between the Wookiees and their home world, I thought made for a really, really entertaining 25 minutes of TV. So 9 out of 10 from me. A couple scores from the chat. Matthew Hardy gives it 8.5 out of 10. Tony Peterson goes with the 9 out of 10. Fishing Vibes TV goes for the whole 10 out of 10. And our old buddy Dan Grievous goes for an 8 out of 10.
Nice. Solid.
All right, let's get into some news now, and we will start with another Star Wars animated project. Of course, Volume 2 of Star Wars Visions. The details and the release date were revealed this week, today actually, as we record this. All the episodes will drop on May the 4th. So happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. For Star Wars Visions. And we learned the studios that will be producing the episodes, and we learned the titles of all the episodes. So we'll go through the titles and we'll go through the studios. So we've got an episode called Sith from the studio El Guiri. Oh boy, this is gonna be interesting. They're from Spain. They're based out of Spain. We've got Screecher's Reach from Cartoon Saloon out of Ireland. We've got In the Stars out of Punk Robot out of Chile. We've got I Am Your Mother from the Aardman Studio out of the UK.
True, it's impossible.
I wonder what's going on there. I would love it if it's like a alternate universe where Padme goes to the dark side or something. Journey to the Dark Head from Studio Mur out of South Korea. I'm scrolling back up and down through the StarWars.com article, so if it sounds like I'm stalling for time, I am. The Spy Dancer from Studio La Cachette, which I'm going to guess is out of France. I'm right. Then we have The Bandits of Golak from 88 Pictures out of India, and The Pit, which is produced by Lucasfilm Limited. If you might have heard of them, they're out of the UK, out of the US. And Dart Stachiro. Sachio, thank you. Which is out of Japan. This is this one is co-directed by Andre Thomas and Justin Ridge. Justin Ridge of the Star Wars Rebels, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and Star Wars Resistance fame. He's a guy that I was sort of wondering what happened to him. I had like a Mandela effect moment where I was sure he was working on the Bad Batch, and then realized he wasn't, and was like, why is Justin not around anymore? working on Star Wars Visions. But yeah, very, very excited. Season 1 of Visions was unique. It was something that I think was missing, that's been missing from Star Wars, in just the sense that it really went there in terms of, let's do something wild, let's do something out there, let's do something that doesn't play by the rules. And there's episodes that I like better out of Visions, but overall I think it made for a really strong season, and I feel like season 2 is going to do that and then some. And I like the idea of opening it up to the whole world, and we're going to get these all sorts of different animated takes on Star Wars. I feel like it's going to be really, really good. And the season 1 set the bar very, very high. But I'm very confident that season 2 can surpass that. And I was lucky enough to be at the Visions panel at Star Wars Celebration last year, where they announced this, and I've been looking forward to it ever since.
What's interesting about Dart Stachio is that they typically do key animation, not full animation. Which I had to look up what that meant, and I guess what that means is that sometimes it kind of happens after storyboarding. Like, you have storyboarding, and then you sometimes contract out another company to draw and animate like important moments, key moments. That's what's called key animation. And
Makes
just kind of
sense.
set the tone of what you want, like a moving concept of what you want. And then your animators go and then do the whole show in-house. So that's typically what they do. So they did key animation for One Piece, which is a pretty popular show right now.
So theoretically, could it just be like they do animation, right? Like, it's not like just still images. Yeah. It's not like a moving comic book sort of thing. Like,
yeah, it is actual animation.
Okay,
but it's typically, it's like they haven't worked on many full projects. It's just pieces of it that are conceptual pieces that then the animator, basically it's like, all right, this is like a sample of what the animation should look like in its final form. Now go and make the rest of the show like this, or the rest of the episode like this.
That's kind of cool that they're having a studio that like does that sort of thing in there, that they're giving them a go at storytelling, at doing the all of it, not just a quick moment. That's pretty neat. And you have to be pretty talented to make the thing that tells everybody else how to do it, right? Like, that's exactly. I think that bodes well for the show. Ben, Hannah, thoughts on Visions Volume 2?
It looks really good. I mean, I'm very excited. Just getting more of this, because I genuinely, I didn't think they would actually do a season 2. Like, I genuinely like, okay, this will be good. I really enjoyed Visions. I wasn't super obsessed with it, but I did really enjoy. I just overall enjoyed the concept of it. I enjoyed, like, okay, Lucasfilm's just going out and doing stuff and just throwing stuff around and doing different things. I really, really like that. I'm glad they're doing that. But like the whole idea of, well, let's get a season 2. I don't know. The fact that this is getting more stuff and we're getting stuff from around the world now is really cool, and shows that Visions was popular. I don't think they would be doing a volume 2 if it didn't really resonate with the audience. It got probably a lot of views. So that's great. That's really cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. I agree with some comments saying, like, yeah, I really want that 9th Jedi sequel. Okay. I really do. I still want it.
I want that 9th Jedi series.
Seriously. Especially when that guy said, like, oh yeah, we have a whole thing planned. I'm like, give it to us now, make it a movie. But like, just the idea that we're getting more stuff, and it's going to be all new stuff from new cultures, new animation studios. Just really great. The fact that, what was it? One of them is the studio behind Wallace and Gromit, I heard, which is just like, that's really cool.
And Chicken Run. That's, that's the biggest thing. Chicken Run and Star Wars has a connection now.
Yeah. That's all I've ever wanted, was the Star Wars Chicken Run. crossover.
Chicken Run will ever be forever associated with the fact that the chair I was sitting in while watching that movie, I fell over backwards. That's the only thing I remember.
I fully expect when you watch that episode of Star Wars Visions, you will be so blown away.
Just like,
Oh,
whoa!
Fall out of your seat all over again. Hannah, your reaction to what we've learned here about Visions 2?
Yeah, I echo a lot of what Ben you just said there, Rov. I just think it's fantastic how they're just so confidently diversifying Star Wars media, and I think it was awesome how they did it last time, and really cool that they're going even further now. They're going to different countries type styles of animations and all these different places. I think that's just such a fun, positive thing in the creative community to kind of, have an experience of such a big franchise like Star Wars that, maybe their, animation wouldn't be doing really. So I think that's really cool. But in terms of I don't want to say too much because I'm really I watched Visions once. I haven't thought about it since. Wasn't a massive fan. Didn't really catch anything of my interest. But I mean, that's not really. It's not really my time to be like, I don't like Visions. So I'm more just be like, you know what? It's great that they're expanding all this media. So what if I'm not a fan of it? I think it's a really positive thing.
Yeah. Fair enough. The one thing I will say that is missing from this season of Vision is that there is no rock opera episode, which was one of my favorite. That was the
carrier. That was awesome.
As much as I want the Ninth Jedi too, I also want Tatooine Rhapsody too.
And they need to animate Christopher Lee's rock opera.
Now we're talking. If you haven't heard that, look that up because that is wild. That is wild. Good stuff. So yeah, Visions Volume 2, May the 4th, Disney Plus. And I gotta think that'll be a week after Mando ends or close to it.
Yeah, a good time in there.
So
and right around the time that Jedi Fallen Order is coming out too, or Jedi Fallen Order 2, Jedi Survivor.
Yeah,
there's no breaks in your Star Wars. We're going right from Bad Batch and Mando are crossing over, and then we're going right into Visions with a quick stop at Jedi Survivor in there as well. Speaking of Jedi Survivor, some news about that this week. The release date has been pushed back about 6 weeks to April 28th. So Hannah, you were just saying, Visions wasn't really your bag. And so you didn't have much to say about it. This is where I have to take a little bit of a step back and not say anything because
that's right. Yeah.
I did not realize this game had a release date. And so when they were saying that it had been pushed back, I'm like, really? From when? I had no idea. So April 28th, I guess I'm sure you can find a clip from the show from, a year ago or 6 months ago where I'm like, and the release date for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2 Survivor thingamajig is this. And I just forgot. I just deleted that from my mind. So
did it come out with the trailer? Was that when that was? I think.
Did it?
I think that was the release date announcement.
Maybe I missed that week. So
it had because I don't think we've had any announcements since the trailer came out. So
yeah. Correct. So.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about this is it does allow them to do a panel at Star Wars Celebration.
It does
in London.
That's totally why they did this.
But they released a statement on all the social medias about this from Respawn, Lucasfilm, and Electronic Arts. It says, for the last 3 years, the Jedi team here at Respawn has poured its collective heart and soul into Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and we are proud to say that the next chapter in the tale of Cal Kestis is content complete. We're now focused entirely on the final stage, bug fixes to enhance performance, stability, polish, and most importantly, the player experience. Jedi Survivor is a direct response to the feedback from our community, delivering expansive destinations to explore, evolved combat and traversal, and of course, the continuation of Cal and BD's story. Making this game has truly made us a better team, and we've pushed ourselves, blah, 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 blah. In order for the team to hit Respawn's quality bar, provide the team the time that they need, and achieve the level of polish that our fans deserve, we have decided to add 6 crucial weeks to our release schedule. Star Wars Jedi Survivor will now launch globally on April 28th.
They're trying to avoid what happened with Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk came out and it just didn't work. You'd just be playing, the game would just stop. And that happens when they're pushing the development of games pretty far. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think is this the first game that's exclusively on current gen consoles? Or I think I think it is.
I think it is. I think it's only on next.
It's
next
not even
gen.
on. It's not on Switch. Sorry, Ben.
Can I play it on my phone?
No phone, no Switch. It's not on as many platforms as Skywalker Saga.
I see how it is. Lucasfilm Games. I see how it is.
Yeah, so it's just on PlayStation 5, which just recently was available after supply issues.
Right.
And then Xbox Series X and S and PC are the only, and I'm sure you need a heck of an expensive PC for it to work on PC.
Yeah, I don't think it's working on mine.
No.
I was worried that maybe the game is set in a colder climate, and because it's hot here in Australia, that they won't release it to us until we get cold. Like the Lego Vacation special, summer vacation. But I was particularly glad for that global release.
Just gotta hope that boat doesn't get stuck in a canal and nobody blocks the canal.
It'll be
on the way over there.
The game will be dropping
You
July 7th.
sound like you know a lot about when they're shipping this and about where and what canal, Chris. Have you got plans?
I mean, it's how I get around. Hop a boat.
Like canal.
So I disappeared for a few months so I could,
By a canal.
Yeah.
So there it is. Jedi Survivor, April 28th, taking the time to get it right. Or so they
good
say.
idea.
Yeah, good idea.
Let's put a kayak.
Yeah, so you can get right out there and steal your copy right off the boat.
Get it and come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's so before we get to Visions and before we get to Jedi Survivor, we've got something else coming up in between. Mandalorian Season 3. Got a sweet new poster this week featuring Din Djarin standing on the hood of his new starfighter with his darksaber drawn, some planet looming in the sky, and Grogu hanging out in his little dome thing at the back of the ship.
Gorgeous.
This is a great poster. Great.
Someone commented on Twitter. Said that he's using the Darth Vader method of transportation. We just stand on your hood with a lightsaber.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. They also released a sort of featurette. It's not really behind the scenes, but it's kind of a thing. I don't really know how to describe it. It's called Phenomenon, and I wish we could just like play it and we could all watch it together on the show, but rights and getting episodes pulled and strikes on YouTube accounts prevent all that from happening. But it's really terrific. If you haven't seen it, there's great footage from Star Wars Celebration Chicago, Star Wars Celebration Anaheim, some stuff from the panel that they did out in Brazil late last year. Really, really good stuff. And just, the behind the scenes people on The Mandalorian talking about the phenomenon that is this show. And it's kind of crazy how long it's been since we've had an episode of The Mandalorian, and it's kind of returning to rule over the streaming service empire it created with Disney Plus. It was the the first thing. It's what started it all off, and everything else has kind of been in its shadow ever since then. So just around the corner. We are now just over a month away. I was looking at this. It's or just under a month away because it's the first of March.
Past the
Wait,
first.
are you doing the countdown?
I'm doing math wrong. I forgot that we released the
All right, if you
released
must
the
know,
episodes on Wednesdays rather than Fridays. So I was looking at Friday.
we are 26 days, 3 hours. Get out of here with your stupid ads. I'm trying to read this TurboTax. Get out of my face.
Oh my gosh.
Stupid
You
countdown.
have 26 days to
app.
complete your tax return.
26 days, 3 hours, 44 minutes and 13, 12, 11 seconds.
There we go.
Wow.
There it is.
Exciting.
Also, 85
Wow.
days till Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Had to update that one. 148 days until Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And 323 days.
You were
until
about to say
Star Wars
Temple
Rogue
of Doom,
Squadron.
weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
What's the 300 and something days until?
What do you think? Rogue Squadron.
Oh,
Yay!
I can't bring myself to
for that.
delete it. I can't bring myself to delete the
Trailer drop when? Let's go.
Because you have to make that post. On this day, Rogue Squadron was supposed to come out.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But it's just like
Yeah.
323 days. That's enough to make a movie, right? Come on, Patty Jenkins,
Yeah.
let's do this.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Hey, Ben, do you have a countdown until Star Wars Celebration Europe?
I do not.
No, that would make me sad.
Well, we got some updates.
I should
about-
do that, though. I'm going to
Yeah.
add it right now.
We got some updates about Star Wars Celebration Europe with a couple of new guest announcements. Leading the charge is Hayden Christensen. He's back for another round of Star Wars Celebration. He'll be joined by Katie Sackhoff, James Arnold Taylor, Mads Mikkelsen, and Dennis Lawson. They'll all be in London in April for Star Wars Celebration.
Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Eh,
Well,
what a guy.
great for him to show up. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
really, really cool.
That's mad.
Well done, Ben. Well done.
Wow.
Low hanging fruit. I took it.
I will also say I'm excited to see James Arnold Taylor there. He wasn't at the last one.
Yeah.
And I missed him. I feel like James is
Yeah.
one of those celebration staples. And
Definitely.
it was sad not to see him in Anaheim. I booked my flights this week to London, so I'm going over there. I changed my hotel because the one I was staying at wasn't very convenient and was stupid expensive, and I got a more convenient and less expensive one today. So I'm feeling
Nice.
good about Celebration London. And I will also say I'm going to be on a panel this year.
Ooh,
More details to follow,
awesome.
but
That's
it is happening unless it doesn't. So we'll see. But it confirmation came through, and now it just has to fall through for it to not happen. So yeah, details to follow in the weeks to come. All right, what else we got? Let's talk this. This is a weird story. Everybody's favorite character from Andor season 1, Linus Mosk. The Scottish guy that teams up with Cyril
he's
Karn.
so excitable. He's so excitable.
Sadly won't be in season 2 of Andor. The actor who plays him, Alex Ferns, confirmed on Twitter that he is not back in season 2. The last we see of him is him just drinking in the streets there on Ferrix, just chugging something or other. So no Linus Mosk. This is one of those ones where I feel like if we were doing 3 seasons or 5 seasons, we'd get some more Linus Mosk. He would go out in some horrifying destruction thing. But alas,
They don't have room for him.
Yeah, there's no space.
And like I liked Mosk a lot. I would love to see more of him, but I'm also there's a lot of the characters that have not shown up yet that I'm like, I want to see more of them. I want to see Bail Organa and all those guys that haven't shown up yet. Like, make room for them.
Yeah. Tony Peterson in the chat says no one's ever really gone, which I don't know if that line has ever more aptly applied to a character than
And
Linus
honestly,
Mosk.
like if you want a happy ending in a show like Andor, I think drinking yourself to and drinking yourself to death in the streets is the best you can do, probably.
He did not realize that was Wookiee ale there, and it was a little stronger than he was expecting. And...
But I mean, Ben, that is a good point. I mean, we know what happens to Andor, blown up by the Death Star. Can't imagine that Luthen's getting out of there. He is going to have to give it all for something real.
Cyril's gonna drown in a bowl of cereal.
And he's gonna fall unconscious, and his face is gonna go in the bowl of cereal.
Yeah, what is it? You only need 2 inches of water to drown, isn't that?
Yeah,
isn't that
that's
seriously.
that's how
I
he'll go.
swear to you, he's gonna be sitting in that stupid booth. And he's gonna get shot with something that's gonna give him paralysis. He's gonna go face first into the cereal. He's gonna drown. That's what's gonna happen. That's
what they were setting up this whole time. That's what all those shots were for. Foreshadowing.
Deidre Miro, I feel like she's gonna go down. Mon Mothma, we know, survives, but I feel like the rest of her family is gonna die. They're gonna be killed by Davo.
She's gonna get blown up in Mandalorian season 3.
Yeah, it's not a good time in the galaxy to be alive.
And really, we need space to figure out who the hell Uncle Harlow is.
Yes,
asking the real questions.
Who is he?
If we sacrificed Mosk to get Harlow,
it's fine.
I think that's a trade I think we have to make.
I guess we know Mosk is not Harlow.
Yeah, I suppose.
One of them has been ruled out.
Yeah, we can take a name off our list.
Go to my whiteboard.
Yeah. It's not him.
All the red string. You can take it away. Oh, she's just walked away to go make that change.
There is a conspiracy theory for it.
Linus Mosk is Uncle Harlow.
Yeah,
obviously.
There it is.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh my.
What's about to happen?
What is this?
I'm not kidding.
For everybody listening, Hannah has just held up a whiteboard with Uncle Harlow written in the middle. It's circled with a bunch of lines leading off to all the different people it could be, including Tarkin, Luthen, Orson Krennic, Underworld crime boss, Mace Windu, Plagueis, and Davo with an S in brackets so that it says Davos. So there you go.
Could be any of those.
Incredible. Uncle
I can't believe I wasn't lying that I had a whiteboard.
I know. I was.
Wow. I thought I was expecting just some of that red Charlie Day with his red.
I want to believe you just went over there and just scribbled that on there really quick, just to make it work.
Speed writing was your force ability.
Incredible.
Anyway,
all right, one final story for this week, and for those of you that watched the pre-show, this was the very first thing we teased on the pre-show, and that is that Hasbro did a live stream this week, and they revealed some stuff in this live stream, and we're gonna have a look at it. So I'm gonna share my screen so you can all see what the images are. This is the Hasbro Pulse live stream. We'll go through what was revealed and then we'll talk about it. So for the Black Series, we've got a Scout Trooper helmet. This is something you can actually wear. Sort of
pretty cool.
Wear it around. Pretty cool. You got your Revenge of the Jedi poster Darth Vader in the 6 series, in the Black Series, 6-inch.
That's innovative.
This is a
slightly red Vader.
Yeah, this is available at Celebration 2023. Got your Kiadi Mundi Black Series.
Get out of here, Kiadi. Get out of here.
Looking pretty good. And then for your Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary celebrations, you got your Rebel Commando Black Series on a vintage card.
Rex Rebel Commando.
Although you can change the face on it. So
he's got the Nick Sant face on there.
That could be very Rexy. And if you see in this next picture, there it is with the bearded face.
Very Rexy.
Yeah.
You're looking really Rexy tonight.
Looking very Rexy. Then we got ARC Trooper Jesse in Phase 2. Or no, it's Clone Commander Jesse.
It says Clone Commander Jesse. No, that's an ARC Trooper.
That's
what are you doing, Hasbro?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. So there you go, Black Series. All right, and we go to the Vintage Collection. You get yourself a battle pack of Phase 2 Clone Troopers from the 212th. You get yourself a Darth Vader, where the card of the figure is him without his helmet on from the end of Return of the Jedi. So really, that should say Anakin Skywalker on the card. Like, not
that's
point.
That's he's not
because
Vader anymore.
They sell Revenge of the Sith era Anakin figures that say Darth Vader on them because it's like from Mustafar when he's Darth Vader. So this should be Anakin. We also got yourself a Han Solo on a vintage card. Nice bit of posing there, doing the shrugging thing. And you got yourself a Wookiee. Can't go wrong with a Wookiee, I guess.
Wookiee.
Vintage collection. And from the Bad Batch, Clone Commander Hauser. Not too bad, not too bad. And from Andor, a clone trooper, because that's everybody's favorite part of Andor is the clone troopers. And then from Return of the Jedi, Admiral Piet. And from the expanded universe, we got Starkiller, aka Vader's apprentice, aka Galen Merrick, aka Sam Witwer. And then from the retro collection, you get yourself a Mandalorian prototype edition, which is the like wacky colors version.
They're like, oh, we're just gonna skip a step on the production line and we're gonna say this is a new figure. Wow, Hasbro.
So does Hasbro realize there are characters that aren't clone troopers or from the original trilogy? Because
yay, we got 2 new Vader figures. I haven't had a Vader figure since 6 months ago. Come on.
It's like I look at those reveals. I'm like, there is nothing new here.
Also, bring it back up. Can you bring it back up?
Yeah, I'll bring it back up. Yeah. Give me a sec. Hold on. Stall for time, Ben. Come on.
I'm ready to go here. Ready to go here. Go up.
All right.
Go to Hauser. Give past Hauser.
All right, Hauser. Yes.
Okay. What does everyone remember about Hauser? He's got gray hair.
He's really Rexy looking.
Look at the hair on that thing. They ruined it.
Yeah, he's
got no wave. He's got no wave. You had one job, Hasbro. Yeah. You made a clone with a great hair and you ruined his hair.
Oh man.
I agree there.
I look at all of the interesting Star Wars storytelling that's being done. I look at all of the interesting and fun characters. Some that look great, some that are just fun, and you'd like to own a plastic version of it. And yet we've got a new Darth Vader and a new Han Solo and like 12 new clone troopers. Like, is there nobody else? Is there no other characters? Do other characters not sell? Like, what is going on here? Who is buying another Darth Vader?
They clearly just took a pre-existing clone trooper and be like, oh, this is the one character that we already have made.
Yeah.
It's in Andor, and we're just gonna package it with Andor, and yay.
I know. I like the guys at Hasbro. I think they're good people, and I think they are doing
this
their
is
job.
Not personal against the people at Hasbro. Not personal.
They're doing their job, but like, there's so much cool Star Wars going on, and Hauser is cool, and a red poster Darth Vader, I guess, is kind of interesting, although I don't know. Like, but it feels like there's so many missed opportunities. I wonder. I feel like, is Star Wars collecting becoming too niche, where the only people who are really buying figures in a way to make it impactful are like army builders, troop builders. So they want all these different clones, and like, people that just want to collect the toys from their childhood, which is the hardcore original trilogy people, because otherwise, there's so many characters from Andor you could do. So many characters from Obi-Wan Kenobi you could do. So many characters from Book of Boba Fett and Mando Season 3 and Visions that you could do. You could do new Bad Batch characters, new Clone Wars characters. And even from the original trilogy, there's characters you could do that would be different and new, and ones that haven't been done in a while. And yet here we are with 2 Darth Vaders, 2 Han Solos, and a dozen clone troopers. I'm like, there's gotta be more to it than this.
And that's kind of my qualm with it, that like all those characters you mentioned, I think like we will get in like a year and a half, 2 years time. Like, how are we just getting Hauser now? Like, think of the absolute internet hype that clone had when that episode dropped, and everyone's like, oh, that's So, oh, who's this character? All that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, again, I'm not a marketing person, but I don't know why they don't kind of have a slate of figures at the end of a season ready to drop.
Yeah.
Like
other brands do that. Other like all the Marvel you walk into you look at what the Marvel figures are on the shelves, they correspond with the shows and the movies that are on then. And yet if for whatever reason Star Wars, because it's partially it's Lucasfilm being too protective of their spoilers and not giving anything to Hasbro, so it is not entirely their fault. But the points being made in the chat that like figures are so expensive these days that like I'm maybe in times gone by might be tempted to go, oh well, this new Darth Vader has some new feature to it, I'll buy it because it's cool. Not in this day and age. Not when figures are $40. No, thank you. I'm not. If I'm gonna spend that on a figure, it better be for a new character or a character I like, or there better be some like real pull to get the figure. Because if it's just another Darth Vader, I got him. I got one already.
It's just wild that they keep going back to the original trilogy. Well, when like you look at Star Wars as a whole, every 6 months we're getting not one, not two, dozens of brand new characters introduced. And I'm not just talking about background characters. I'm talking about like main characters. Like where's the just take the Book of Boba Fett. That was over a year ago. Where's the figures for that show? Where's the mods? Where's the Fennec Shans or anything like that? We've got a Boba Fett figure, like we got 1,000 Book of Boba Fett figures. There's so many things like to keep going back to that, and it's like of course, spoilers. They want to protect your spoilers, whatever. You're talking about a show that's a year old that still doesn't have any figures in the store. Like that's crazy, and just to keep going back to oh, another Han Solo, another Darth Vader. Like, yeah, I have like 3 Han Solos and at least a couple Darth Vaders. I'm sorry, I'm not interested.
Yeah, I'm good.
It's hard to kind of think about how Hasbro used to overdo it and how that's technically a bad thing. Because like obviously like I was there, as a consumer being like, oh, it's great that there's always stuff on the shelves.
Right.
But obviously from their perspective, it's like, no, they actually want the shelves to empty out because they, need to sell the stuff. And I understand that, but it is unfortunate because the availability is, a lot lower than it used to be. And the amount of stuff they put out is lower than it used to be. I mean, I remember, at its peak, there were like 3 lines of the same size of action figures, going at the same time. You had like a Clone Wars line going, and then you had like stuff from the movies, and then there was like a repack, re-kit bash line where they kind of like just made the same things in a slightly different way, and there was all happening at the same time. And there was over 100 figures released a year then when you combined all of those things together. It's like every week there were 2 more. It was amazing. But yeah, now there's just way less, and they just don't have the slots to like have every single show and everything.
Yeah. And I also feel like these live streams that they do and these reveals that they do at Comic Cons and in celebrations and all that stuff, it always feels like they get like the worst figures to reveal at those things. Like the ones from the new shows don't get revealed in a Hasbro Pulse live stream.
Yeah.
They either just don't get revealed and just show up on store shelves, or they get thrown over to Entertainment Weekly or something.
Yeah.
So they hype up these live streams, and then we get a dozen clones.
Do you think
and the Darth
Vader.
Think
too that it all kind of goes back to social media? Because like the internet was around when the prequels were coming out. But there wasn't social media when the prequels were coming out. Like Friendster was just kind of starting to come on the scene, and that was about it. And with the internet, you had to go look for spoilers. You couldn't. They didn't pop in front of you. You had to go look for it. You had to go to Super Shadow or like whatever the heck.
That's if you wanted bullshit. But yeah,
that was not real spoilers there.
That's like watching Mike Zero today.
Mike Zero back in the day. But you had to go places to go find things. Now with social media, it's like once a character is like if they had put out the Grogu figure or the Luke Skywalker figure or like some of these kind of surprise moment characters. right at the same time, or like, at the end of the season, the distribution channels would have leaked that it was happening, and then it would have been all over social media, and everybody would have found out about it, even if they didn't want to find out about it.
Yeah.
So it kind of the root problem of this, other than just the decision to have that mystery box that some franchises just like, screw it, we don't care, is this idea that we still haven't really solved the spoiler problem on social media. Like, it's like you have to stay off the internet if you don't want to see things, and they're trying to be a little bit cognizant of that. Like, no, you can't. Now you just can't use the internet again because you're interested in a Star Wars show. You can't, because at any point it could be spoiled. Something could leak from the season, and we don't want that to happen. So I guess it's really until we get to a point where you can have a spoiler filter that actually works, which I think will happen at some point. Then they might be able to actually have things leak again and have it not be a problem, and then they might be able to time the productions like they used to, because during the prequels you had all your action figures out even before the movie came out.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. The other thing I think is action figure collecting has become a hobby for adults, and so they're priced like they're for adults, because that's who's buying them. And so that means they're going to make less, because back in the prequel days, I feel like they were still making them with kids in mind.
Yeah.
And
the
so
action features.
Yeah. And so you could go in so they were priced with kids in mind, and they were made with kids in mind, and there was characters made with kids in mind. Now it's clearly made. I mean, just you look at the overabundance of original trilogy stuff. It's made for the people who were kids in the 70s and 80s who have the disposable income now. And so they keep jacking up the price and just keep making those same figures over and over again instead of, putting them at a reasonable price for people to collect at, and then, putting out lots of new choices and characters, because honestly, I mean, let's be real, kids probably aren't buying action figures. They're playing video games. They're playing on their Switch.
Again, they're Star Wars skins for their video game.
Yeah, they're Star Wars skins. Yeah. Or they're playing Lego Star Wars the video game. Like that's
it's odd to think of action figures as like vinyl records, like that's kind of the same thing. It's like something that's just only appeals to a certain generation.
I got my Darth Vader on vinyl. I got my Darth Vader action figure in plastic.
Oh man.
And I mean, but also like the way we talk about it on a vintage card, might as well be saying on vinyl.
Nostalgic.
Yeah.
One of the marketing moments that I think really burned Lucasfilm, because definitely in the past few years, they've really prided themselves on being spoiler free and really keeping the big moments, the big gobsmacked wow moments for the show. They're really just obsessed with that. And the first thing that I think of is when, what was it? It was the Black Series Ahsoka saber, and there was like a very realistic, very Rosario Dawson looking Ahsoka on the packaging of that saber, and that went really viral, and that went really, really insane. Going like, yeah, we're getting Ahsoka, because I think up until that point, it was just kind of people going, yeah, like we're gonna get Ahsoka, like we're gonna get like kind of fingers crossed for it. But I think that was really a big moment where everyone's like, oh, okay, so Ahsoka's coming in this season.
Yeah.
So I feel like Lucasfilm were like really upset with that. Just I could imagine they were really upset with that experience. So yeah, I just think about that whole thing of the whole packaging, and like when they do it, they don't want spoilers to come out and all that kind of stuff. Because I don't think they were meant to release that photo. That photo of the product got leaked.
Yeah.
I think so. It was just like,
well, that tends to happen because again, it's like when you're making a product and you have a shelf date, there's this whole process where the thing's going to be around and in people's hands in certain places for months before then, because it's like it's got to get shipped there, and then there's got to be prototypes made even before that, and like it, you just assume if you're making a product, people are going to see it long before it's actually available in stores for people, and that's kind of probably what happened with that or some similar situation. And it's like again, it's different from like, again, it's that whole thing like you said, like trying to like hold the surprises, the big moments for like complete, completely going in not expecting it, like, going into watching that Ahsoka episode, and they're not even like giving it a name. It's like chapter this or chapter that, and like they just want people to not even know what's going to happen, and then Ahsoka shows up and then you compare that with like the first time we were ever introduced to Ahsoka. It's not like we sat down and watched the Clone Wars movie and we're surprised, wait, Anakin has a Padawan. There was a press release for it like months before then.
Yeah.
Like, Ahsoka
If that happened today, it would be, we would watch the trailers for the Clone Wars movie and there would be no Ahsoka, or she'd just be in like a scene and people would be like, who is this character? And then Anakin as a Padawan would be revealed.
But I remember, the marketing of the Clone Wars movie is kind of burned in my brain more than most things, because it was the first Star Wars movie that we got after thinking we might not ever get one again. And just as kind of the Force Awakens marketing as well. So I remember like all the steps and how they revealed everything. And, I remember that there was a whole marketing website that was like interactive that existed that summer that you could go on and like learn about the movie and see clips from it, and like it was this whole thing where the experience of watching it was really drawn out over many months as they revealed it officially. And that didn't even happen with the Force Awakens. By the time we got to the Force Awakens, it was following all of the third-party sites revealing things about the movie. They didn't really put much officially out about it. It was like a few teaser trailers and that was it.
Yeah, with the Clone Wars movie, part of that was George. George didn't really care about. He didn't care about what the marketing team thought about, and he didn't really care about spoilers. And I think one thing I've heard over the years is that even the people in the marketing department at Lucasfilm, like in 2007, 2008, were kind of annoyed with George for talking that much about Ahsoka and the lead up to it. And like I was at Star Wars Celebration 5 in 2010 when George Lucas said about Savage Opress, yeah, he's Darth Maul's brother on stage. And that afternoon, Dave Filoni was like, yeah, you might have heard George say something about this character. Yeah, I'm not going to repeat what he said because I don't want to say it, and we weren't supposed to say it. But, George said it. So it's good. It's just one final thing on action figures. I'll tell you what the figures that have excited me the most in the last little while, and this will be controversial in some circles among certain action figure collectors. The holiday figures, the Halloween ones, the Christmas ones, because they're new, they're different, they're fun, they're not the same thing over and over again. So when I go into a store and I see a Mandalorian in a freaking ugly sweater, or I see Chewbacca looking like an abominable snowman, I'm like, thank you very much. That is something new. That is something fun. That is something different than what I already own.
And those are kind of I don't know if they put out as many as are in demand. Like I think they put out less of them than the typical figures from that are the screen.
I never found any of the first wave from 2-3 years ago. Yeah, it was only this year that I actually found some of them.
So they're like a rare item. They're like a chase, thrill of the chase type thing.
Yeah, they're fun.
I think those are dumb, and I'm not gonna buy it.
I think they're great, and I bought the entire wave of Christmas ones. So agree to disagree. All right, that's the news. That's what we got. No more Hasbro. No more talk of this sort of thing.
Do we have another super chat?
Yes, we do have a couple of super chats, so we'll get to those real quick. From Joel about the Vision stuff. He says the studio doing Journey to the Dark Head did the animation for Legend of Korra, so more Avatar: The Last Airbender and Star Wars connection.
Interesting.
Pretty cool.
The animation in that show was really great. Absolutely fantastic.
Joel also trying to read the tea leaves in the Celebration announcement, saying Mickelson theory for Celebration. He's there because he's the villain of Indy 5, or he's there to support his brother Lars Mikkelsen, aka the voice of Thrawn. I'm thinking more option 1, but who knows? Yeah, I feel like
why not both?
Just in the same way that the Lucasfilm presentation at Celebration last year and at D23 last year featured a major Indiana Jones presence. I feel like the Celebration this year will feature a major Indiana Jones
I think
presence.
He's gonna be in Andor. That's what I think.
That would be cool. I think he's there because he can charge £100 to sign an autograph.
Yes, also true.
I think that's the main reason why most of these guys are there, because they can make money signing autographs, and we're willing to pay for them most of the time. I mean, I'm looking at those autograph prices going, no, I'm not getting any this time around. They're so expensive.
Or took all my money, all their holiday figures.
Yeah, right. right now, that the cheapest autograph you can get for Celebration this year is Vivian Lyra Blair, and it's still like £75. Like,
holy crap!
She's the cheapest.
She's
wow,
the cheapest,
I would not have picked that.
No, I honestly, when you look at what some of the other guys are charging, like Hayden Christensen, I feel like she can raise her prices and
yeah, for sure,
put a little more money in her college fund.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, seriously.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's crazy stuff. Anyways, I think we've done enough. We've said enough here this week, and we can begin to wrap things up for this episode.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back same time, same place with another episode next week. That time is 9:30 p.m. Eastern. That place is YouTube, and of course we'll be on all the podcast feeds on demand after the fact. In the meantime, you can follow us at the SWU. Dominic, thank you so much for hosting.
It was my pleasure as always. Great fun talking about a really engaging episode of the Bad Batch, and going through the news. Very excited for Vision Season 2. I think this Jedi Survivor news will finally give me the kick in the rear end I need to go and watch the cinematics of Jedi Fallen Order all the way through.
So
I'm not
play
playing
the
it.
game.
I'm not buying a console. I'm sorry. I don't. I'd rather go to Celebration London. That's where I'd rather be. But I'd certainly like to watch the cinematics so that I can be ready for the book that's coming out next month, and then the game that will follow soon after. I look forward to watching the cinematics of Jedi Survivor as well. So yeah, that's gonna be fun, and of course Visions and all this stuff. So yeah, I don't have anything else to say. I've said enough. The Christmas figures are excellent. See you in 7 days' time.
You can follow Dominic on social media at DominicJ25.
You can see pictures of my Christmas figures on display.
That's right.
On my Instagram.
That's right. At DominicJ25. That's just a J. It's not spelled out Jay. It's just the letter J.
And unlike Ben, when you say these things, I don't go and change how my handle is spelled.
J with no A.
Yeah. It's not
I stole something from you, because that used to be your thing. It used to be you
Ben
would
Hart.
say, and that's Hart with no E. I stole it from him. I'm like, I'm gonna make
that's so good
because I'm like that.
Well, my name is not like Homer Simpson. It's not Homer J. Simpson, where the J stands for J, J-A-Y. It's just a J, like Jones. It's the initial. It's nothing more. What are we talking about? I don't know.
No, I was just trying to make sure people could, who are just listening,
I have to be
find your account.
I have to be at work in 7 hours. I would wrap the show up.
And I got up at 4 a.m. today, so I literally have almost fallen over a few times, but I'm still going.
Just like when you watch Chicken Run.
That's right. Reenacting that.
Bringing it all around.
That's so weird.
The Nooner Run. Let's go. Ben, thank you for hosting as well.
Oh yeah, this is my part of the thing.
Yes.
Yes.
You're the best.
This was
That's Hart with no E.
I'm not. I respond when my hell yeah. So yeah, this is fun. This is fun. Talking about some Bad Batch and some figures and why Hasbro sucks and Trandoshans suck. So got a lot. Other than that, I have nothing else. Let's just end this thing.
That's some Shreewook graffiti right there. Trandoshans suck. At Ben Hart with no E, as you just heard, is where you can find Ben on the social medias. Hannah, thank you so much for hosting as well.
Thank you so much. Another great, fun, joyous episode. Really loved that Bad Batch episode, and very keen for next week. It's going to be a double header, 2 episodes next week, so it's going to be really, really fun. And also note, if you're on Twitter, make sure you head over to my account. I've tweeted out to voice actor of the Clone Wars of Duchess Satine, our favorite Duchess of Mandalore. I tweeted her today, a couple of hours ago, that I would love to interview her, and I want 100 likes for it. And, like, if I got 100 likes, I would ask her for an interview. And she herself has retweeted it. So
nice.
I was going to go and like it, but then I saw how many likes there are already on it. 69. I can't be 70. I can't be 70.
No one
you can't hit it
up.
Fair. That's totally fair. That's totally fair.
God.
It'll work if you find like 300 and some people to just go straight from that to 420. Then they'll agree to it.
There we go. That's what we'll do. But anyway, I really would love to interview Anna Graves. She's awesome and loves the team. So yeah, go hit up my Twitter to help me out there. Woo. But great show.
Awesome. And that Twitter is at the Raeside.
There you go.
And,
70 likes. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And that's spelled R-A-E side at the Raeside.
Ray with no Y.
Ray with no Y.
With E.
With an E. That's right. She stole the E from Ben and gave the Y to Dominic, who didn't want to use it.
Sure.
Okay. So if you want to email us, you can do that swunderworld@gmail.com. And you can also join our Discord. The link is in the description, and that's where you can get our weekly pre-shows that we do every week. So make sure you check that out. Also, check out all the other shows on the Star Wars Underworld Network, including the Raeside, Ion Cannon, and Tales from Beyond the Galaxy. Huge thanks to everybody who super chatted tonight. Huge thanks to our channel members. And please make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. All right, that's it. We'll be back next week. Until then, for Ben and Dominic and Hannah and all the fantastic contributors we have here at the Star Wars Underworld, my name is Chris, and may the Force be with you.
Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
Yes.
Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
Star Wars rules. This is momentous. This is exciting. Why, hello there, Ben.
Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
He is the founder of the Star Wars Underworld, Mr. Ben Hart.
How's it going, everybody?
Just felt appropriate for how the ending of the show went. It's a wrap.